Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute most intense, dramatic relationships in all of literature. Yep, we're talking about Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. We're going to figure out exactly how she manipulates him, how she completely attacks his manhood, and how pure, unfiltered ambition drives them both. So let's break this complex dynamic down into super easy pieces.
Here's our really quick roadmap for today. We've got 6 sections. Section 1 is who controls the relationship. 2 is reading and getting strong. 3 is persuading and questioning manhood. 4 is witches versus Lady Macbeth. 5 is the fall into guilt. And we'll wrap up with 6, acing your exam questions. All right, let's jump right in.
Section 1. Who controls the relationship? At the very beginning, these two are actually super close, but you've got to watch how fast this power dynamic shifts.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, Lady Macbeth is totally in the driver's seat. She dominates her husband, and she is the one making all the big plans. But, as time goes on, things really start to change. Macbeth starts committing these terrible acts of violence all by himself. And the crazy thing is, becoming king and queen doesn't actually make them happy at all. Instead, the violence completely breaks them apart. To make this super easy to remember, just picture their story in 3 simple steps. Step 1, the start. She controls him. Step 2, the middle. They drift apart. And step 3, the end. She suffers from terrible guilt. Honestly, if you just keep this simple timeline in your head, you'll be in great shape.
Moving right along to Section 2, reading and getting strong. This is where she really takes action.
But before we look at her actions, we absolutely need to lock in our key vocabulary. The single most important word for Lady Macbeth is ambition. Ambition simply means wanting power or success very, very strongly. This is literally the engine driving everything she does next. She wants that power, and she wants it right now.
So the whole thing actually kicks off with a letter. Macbeth writes to his wife, telling her that the witches predicted he's going to be king. Now, this is a really crucial moment. It shows us just how incredibly close they are. He trusts her so much that she is the very first person he wants to tell. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. The absolute second she reads that letter, she doesn't just sit around and wait. No way. She immediately asks dark spirits to make her strong. This is that famous unsex me here scene. Basically, she wants to completely lose all her gentle human feelings so she can be cruel enough to commit murder. She knows she has to be ruthless if she's going to force Macbeth to take that crown. All right, Section 3, persuading and questioning manhood. This is where her power really peaks.
Now, I want you to ask yourself, is Lady Macbeth evil, ambitious, or is she just being supportive? Keep this central question right in the back of your mind as we look at how she treats Macbeth in these next key scenes. Her motives are actually incredibly complex.
Let's look at Act 1, Scene 7. Macbeth is getting major cold feet. He literally lists reasons not to kill King Duncan. Duncan is a good king, he's a relative, and he's a guest in their house. Macbeth knows deep down that it is wrong. But Lady Macbeth totally manipulates him. She goes straight for his manhood. She tells him he's a coward and not a real man if he doesn't go through with the murder. Her control hits its absolute peak in Act 2, Scene 2, right after the murder actually happens. Macbeth is in a total panic. The guilt hits him instantly, and he even brings the bloody daggers back into the room with him. So Lady Macbeth just steps up and takes charge. She grabs those daggers, plants them on the sleeping guards to frame them, and tells Macbeth a little water clears us of this deed. She is totally 100% in control here. Section 4, Witches versus Lady Macbeth. So who is really to blame? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is comparing how differently they operate. The witches, they just predict the future. They basically just plant the idea in Macbeth's head, but here's the thing. They never actually tell him to kill anyone. Lady Macbeth, on the other hand, is the one who persuades him. She's the one who attacks his manhood, and she forces the actual murder to happen. She is the real engine behind the violence.
Section 5, the fall into guilt, a truly tragic end. To really understand her sudden downfall, we need to define 2 more really key exam terms. First is guilt. Guilt is simply feeling bad about what you did. And second is conscience. Conscience is your inner sense of right and wrong. Now, early on in the play, Lady Macbeth seemed to have absolutely zero conscience. But as we'll see,
You just cannot escape your own guilt.
And that brings us to Act 5, Scene 1. Lady Macbeth is sleepwalking and suffering from this overwhelming, heavy guilt. The woman who once confidently said a little water would clean them, she is completely broken. She endlessly washes her hands, crying out, "Out damned spot." Her conscience simply cannot forget the blood. It is such a massive, tragic change from the strong, dominant woman we saw at the start.
Finally, Section 6. Acing your exam questions. Let's get those top marks.
So the crucial point here is exactly how you structure your answers. You absolutely want to use the PQE method. It's just 3 simple steps. Step 1 is your point. State your main idea clearly to answer the question. Step 2 is evidence. Drop in a short quote or a really specific example from the scenes we just talked about. And step 3 is explain. Say what your evidence actually shows and link it right back to the question. This structure literally guarantees you stay on track.
And here is your golden rule for exam timing. The number 1 mark equals exactly 1 minute of writing. So if it's a 10-mark question, spend 8 to 10 minutes writing 1 strong PQE paragraph. If it's a 25-mark question, you spend 25 minutes writing 3 or 4 paragraphs. Whatever you do, never spend 20 minutes on a 10-mark question.
To make sure you are totally fully prepared, here is your super simple exam checklist of the core themes for the ordinary level exam. Ambition, guilt, violence and power, and conscience. If you can confidently link Lady Macbeth's actions, from controlling her husband at the start all the way to sleepwalking at the end, back to these 4 themes, you are going to do fantastic. We'll wrap up today's explainer with this final thought-provoking question to get your gears turning before you dive into your past papers. Ultimately, did Lady Macbeth's ambition destroy her, or was she just tragically supporting her husband's dark desires? Think about her incredible journey from power to guilt. Thank you so much for joining me to walk through this endlessly fascinating relationship. Keep practicing that PQE method, and I'll see you in the next explainer.